Hello, everybody. We're on and we're back with Healing Conversations. We've missed you guys. We were having some technical difficulties earlier, but now we are good to go. I had my setup already. You know what was going on with my computer. I was just like, come on. Yeah, so welcome to Healing Conversations. We're so glad that you're here. We want to give you guys some time to share, to log in, to catch us and see that we're on, to say hi, to give us some thumbs up to let us know that you're here, that you're watching, that you have joined us. We have missed you guys. I know you guys have probably missed us um, with our Wednesday healing conversation. So we're glad that you're here. So if you're on, just let us know that you're here and um, say hello and share and start a watch party. We have a good conversation tonight. So we're excited about our conversation tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about self care, which is a much needed topic. Um, as we have seen over the past couple of months, we have seen that self care is an important part has become a more important part, or it should be more of a priority in our lives and stuff like that. So we're so glad that you're joining us today, and we're so glad that you are um, here with us. All right. So let us know that you're there. Say hi, say hello, wave your hand, give us some thumbs ups, give us some hearts or whatever to let us know that you're watching. We're glad to see you guys, and we're gonna have a great conversation tonight. All right. All right. I'm drinking my tea. I got my water. You look like Anaya right now.
Really?
Yes, you look like Anaya. Ah,
Thank
yes.
you.
Did she just say thank you?
Yes, she did.
So tonight we're talking about self care, and I'm glad that when you sent me that text, I was just like, yes, that is right on time. I actually just did a talk last week to a group on self care, and so I actually have a whole self care presentation because my self care presentation is actually a part of my putting you first workshop that I do. So the last I've done, I think probably in the last 2 weeks I've done two sessions on self care and helping people with self care. So I was glad when you sent me that text and was just like, we should talk about self care, and trying to carve out that your own personal space is like it was like before when we were talking about finding a happy place and how do you do that in where you are, and then how do we balance um how are we balancing our work and personal lives now that for a lot of us our work is our home, you know our church is our home, our gym is our home. So then um how do we balance that? So how have you been balancing it, Marlon?
Um, well, in terms of self-care, I would say that this aspect of self-care is about setting those boundaries
Mm,
that are needed and are very they're easy to permeate and easy to come through because being a woman, a mother, a caregiver, a businesswoman, all of those things are all encompassing. And now that we're sharing space, everything can literally just overlap from one to the next to the next to the next.
mm-hmm,
Your physical space, your dining room, and your living room is now your workspace.
mm-hmm,
So, coming from a culture where, as women and as brown women, we so many roles and so many hats that we're told that we have to utilize and that we have to wear. It can become a really daunting task to create that balance that I think is really needed in terms of just living a full and abundant life. And so I think the little things that we took for granted when before quarantine, like getting in the car and turning the radio on and driving by yourself for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get to work, getting to work and setting up your office space and spraying your good stuff that you want to smell, lavender, whatever essential oils, and getting to work. You don't really have those breaks anymore. And so for me, what I've started doing was I have my time in my room where I'm the type of person who it's best for me to work out early in the morning. That's when I have the most energy.
Yeah, me
And
too.
so what I've done is like I'll just put my yoga mat out on the ground as that reminder that when I wake up and my foot hits the ground, I need to do something active. You know, being the mommy of the house, it's like you have a revolving door. Like, you know, you're the chef, you're the doctor, you're the mediator, you're the therapist, you're all of those things. And so there's always that, you know, someone coming to the door with a need kind of thing. And so what I'll do is literally like close the door and I'll have the music going. And that's my time to breathe, to heal, to connect with my body, to connect with the energy that's in my body. And I usually do that connection when I wake up, grab my crystals and breathe from like my crown chakra all the way down to my root chakra, while listening to some type of like meditation music. But then the yoga mixed with dancing that happens for about an hour a day is so important to have that break, to have that exertion, to put that energy into myself, and then to sweat, to let whatever toxins that are in my body be able to be released. And so I've started doing that. I would say it's probably been 2 weeks now. And the thing is so funny about energy, because even though I've set it up as that space where this is my time, I realize that my children are coming in because they want to dance with me. Right. And they feel the energy that's taking place in the room and they want to be a part of that. And so I still allow them to come in and, you know, be a part of the festivities and we'll party together. But it still just feels good to have that time that I'm putting into myself, and knowing that that's important, and that no matter what roles we have, because we have so many hats that we wear, if that self-care role isn't a priority to us, nothing else can get done by us. Because if you don't choose a day to rest your body, to rest your mind, your body will choose that day for you.
Yeah.
And I don't want my body to make that choice. I want to have that communication with my mind, body, and spirit to know when I need to breathe, when I need to connect, when I need to deal with anger, when I need to deal with frustration, when I need more movement, when I need more sun. So using that time intricately to connect with my mind, body, and spirit daily is how I'm setting that boundary, or setting some boundary, because there's so many things that are overlapping at this time.
Yeah, that is so true. I saw a quote I have a quote in my presentation on self care by Ashley Rachel, and she says, "When a person prioritizes themselves, they show other people it is okay to put themselves first too." And this is how self care can change the world. It's that's like when we start making ourselves a priority, when we start making our mind, body, and spirit a priority. When I get up in the morning, I'm usually I'm home by myself by the time I get up. What I'm saying? So I say my prayer and everything while I'm in my room. And then when I come downstairs, I turn on my Pandora and I sit in my chair and I do my meditation. What I'm saying? And so what I started doing with my meditation is instead of just sitting there and just doing the deep breathing, in and out, say I start to say different affirmations when I'm like that I want to breathe in, saying like I want to be breathe in healing. I want to breathe in peace or positive energy, confidence, uh, courage, strength, those type of things. And then when I exhale, I release like fear and doubt and negativity and those type of things. So I say those things as I'm exhaling, and then so I continue to do that. And so I've been doing that for the last about maybe 3 weeks or so. Yeah, so it's made a difference in my meditation in doing that and just having that affirmation of that, say doing
Mhm.
that in the morning and when I breathe in, say, I'm breathing in positive energy, I'm breathing in healing, saying and I'm releasing all that negative stuff, saying
Mhm.
to start, so that I can really, start my day and those types of things. So yeah, so I've been talking to a lot of people about self-care and about are you really paying attention to what's going on in your body? Are you paying attention to your mind? Are you paying attention to the aches and pains that you may be having? Are you paying attention to like what you're feeling? What I'm saying? Um are you paying attention to your spirit and how your spirit is feeling at the time? How your heart is feeling at the time? Saying how your mind and how your mind is feeling, how you're feeling emotionally, saying if you have aches or pains, say what is that coming, what is that from, and those types of things. So, a big part of self care is paying attention to you and paying attention to, how you're feeling, how you're doing in that moment. I saw a it's one thing I tell a lot of people that self care is less about what you're doing and more about how you're being. And that, that literally means it's like, because a lot of us do lots of things um, that we probably designate as health self care, and sometimes we just do it out of routine or we just do it to do it, but not to have a sense of self when we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about like what you're doing; it's about how you're being when you're doing that, and what type of result you want to get from out of taking that bath or doing that meditation or doing that yoga or deep breathing. Like what do you want to accomplish, saying how do you want to feel when you take time to take care of yourself and prioritize yourself? Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Um, and I was thinking as you were talking about another way that I've set my boundaries is I'm not available to everyone, and it's
Hmm.
okay not to be available to everyone.
Yeah.
Um, with the assumption of people being in quarantine, a lot of people are home. Everyone's dealing with the fear and the anxiety in their own way. And so I'm really cautious as to what I allow my spirit to be exposed to. Um,
Hmm.
I think for over 20 years of being in education and always teaching in like the toughest neighborhoods, I had a lot of exposure to a lot of different things and a lot of different energies all the time. And so when I stopped teaching, that need to be busy and be moving and be helpful was still very much there. But now I'm just at the point where it's okay to not have a whole lot going on. That's all right.
Yep.
It's also okay to know what my energy can handle on a given day. Just because I'm a healer doesn't mean that I can heal the whole world. Doesn't mean that if I'm ailing or if I'm well or I'm off balance that I'm supposed to expose myself to certain energies, because sometimes that's just not how it needs to be. And so in setting my boundaries, I've definitely set my boundaries with my time and my energy. Choosing, how I want to use my energy, where I'm going to pour it, where I can pour it, given the day and the time and how my body is vibrating, how the energy is vibrating in my body. And so that's also really important and a life lesson that I think is very valuable, especially in a society where in order to make a living, we have to be pushed in all these different directions around all these different energies. So definitely setting my boundaries with my time and space and energy is also another way.
Yeah, and that is so true. And setting those boundaries are so important, because if you don't set the boundaries, then um, if you put yourself on the back burner, then people are going to put you on the back burner, and that's why they're always going to come to you for you to solve their problems, for you to help them with something, for you to take them somewhere, for you to drop something off, or doing all those things. They're always going to be at you for doing that, because they know you're going to do it. And as long as you don't make yourself a priority, then other people are not going to do that. And it's important that excuse me, it's important that um that you set boundaries, and you set healthy boundaries for yourself. You know, being able to say no. Like when I did this workshop on self care a few weeks ago, and one of the participants said that they struggled with when they said no, then they felt guilty. Saying, or they struggled with when they decided to take time for themselves, they felt guilty about taking time for themselves. And I told them that's because we're taught to put everybody else before us. We're taught to put everybody else's needs before our own needs. We're taught to avoid conflict, saying, avoid confrontation, saying, avoid other people feeling bad about whatever is going on. And we're taught to be that, we're taught to always be there, to put everybody else before yourself, because their feelings matter, what they need matters, what their need is important. And so when you find people who are setting boundaries, or saying no, they want to call you selfish. No, that is not what selfish is. Selfish is when you're all about you, and it's all about you. But deciding to put yourself first, and deciding to prioritize your self care for yourself, is not selfishness. It's necessary. It is important, and it's vital to your own health, mental, spiritual, and physical health, and emotional health as well. So you can't you cannot say no and feel guilty about saying no. You know what I'm saying? When they say no, they don't feel guilty. When they tell you they can't do something for you, they do not feel guilty. So you should not be at home feeling guilty about you not being able to help somebody, or you not being able to go do something for somebody, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Don't feel guilty about saying no, and definitely don't feel guilty about taking time for yourself. Because
And even if you feel guilty, do it anyway.
Exactly. You'll
because
get used to it.
sometimes guilt is one of those emotions that it was sent to us and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't make anything better. It only makes
Hmm.
things worse.
Yep.
And so if you're going to do something based off of guilt, if you say no and then guilt comes in, it's just that old voice, the old habit. Sometimes
Hmm.
we're used to being uncomfortable. Sometimes
Yeah.
we're used to being unhappy. And
Hmm.
so if used to being unhappy looks like smiling and saying yes, when deep down inside, you know, you want to say no, and you don't want to
Exactly.
show up to the party, and you don't want to be the bridesmaids, and you don't want to cook a meal, then just say no. And if you have to feel guilty, then that's okay. Sometimes we need to have a conversation with our inner children and let them
Hmm.
know it's all right. Whoever it is that's in your life, the people who share this earth with us and share energy with us, the fact is they should know who we are wholeheartedly. And if you
Hmm.
say no because something in you wants to not do that activity, that's
Hmm.
okay. Because it's a whole lot better to say no and to feel guilty than to spend those 5 or 6 hours in someone else's company when you know you don't want to be there and that
Exactly.
your body is tired or your
Hmm.
energy is depleted.
Yeah.
So just because you didn't want to say no to someone else because you don't want to deal with a few minutes of guilt, you give up your whole day or a whole
Hmm.
bunch of hours because you wanted to say yes. And then at the end of the day, you're letting yourself down.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
when we
Yep.
let ourselves down, that's the that's a whole bigger thing to have to deal with when you keep on letting yourself down.
Yeah. That's true. That is true. And then that's when the stuff. That's when stress, trickles in, and all those types of things, because now, saying you got you're stressed because you feel guilty because you took time for yourself. I used to be like that. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I used to take mental health days where I would take off, and only two people knew that I was going to be off that day. You know, like one of my friends or something, like one of my very close friends knew, and well, not necessarily two people, but the people in my office knew I wasn't going to be there that day. You know, but as for everybody else in the world, thought I was at work. No, I was doing some self care. You know, so I used to do that. And now when we talk about now that we're in this pandemic, and you know. When your living space becomes your workspace, your living space becomes your gym, and your church, all those type of things. It's just like, okay, so then how do you prioritize your self-care when your desk is in your living room? Like my office is in my living room, but now we have our back room cleared out. So now, so I think a week ago, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna start taking breaks. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're at home and you're working, you're not thinking about maybe it's time to take a break like you would do when you're at work in the actual building. You'll get up, you go somewhere, go, just do something. So now what I start doing, I started intentionally when I take my break, I leave from out of this room. I go to the back room. I was just like, during the day, that's my break room. During the night, that's what you can watch TV at. But during the day, that's my room where I go and I take my break there.
Mhm.
I open up the door, let that sunlight in, or even if it's not even sunlight, it's daylight. You know what I'm saying? Let that light in. And, I'll sit there and maybe watch something or just sit there and maybe read something. But I go and I literally go there and I shut my brain off for like an hour, and don't do anything for like an hour. And I'll just sit there and just relax. But so I realized that when I started doing that, when I would return back to start working, then I was more, I had more energy, I was more energetic, and I was getting more done. But if I would just take the time when my body is just like, okay, it's time for a break. My body was telling me it's time for a break. So then I would get up and I would leave the room and go into that break. So if you have that same issue and you're in your house, in your living room or your dining room is your office, then maybe your break needs to be in the basement or something, or maybe your break needs to be in the den. or in your kitchen, or maybe on your porch, even though it's kind of cold out, or whatever. But, finding another space in your house where you can literally remove yourself from where your computer is, where your desk is, and go into a different place where you can like recharge and get that break that you need. And so I started doing that, and it's made a difference,
Mhm.
just leaving the room and be like, okay, because normally I would just leave the desk and then like just go back and sit on the couch. Not anymore. I leave the room and I go in the back.
Definitely. And in the spring, especially with Anaya, on and takes a really does, because I don't think it's natural, and children should not be sitting on the computer for that many hours. And
Mm-hmm.
so in the springtime, we would, on her half an hour break, like take a walk to the river and look at the for a few minutes, connect with, and walk back to the house.
Mm.
But anything to break up that monotony of, the same room, the same activity, the same space, is important in terms of like self-care and giving your mind something else to look at. Like, I think our brains are so used to technology now that it's like we're becoming computers in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and when you look at a baby, like how they marvel at things, like babies always look as if they're just in wonder. They could look at their hand as if it's a Mozart picture. And so just like even sitting in your house and finding where the trees are, the evergreen trees, or even the trees that don't have leaves, how the birds are, flocking to certain trees, being able to just have that time away from the screen, is so important, not only to adults who are working, but also children who are doing online learning.
Yeah, that's true. I was listening, and it's so funny how we decided to talk about this topic today because when I was watching the news this morning, they had someone over there talking about self care. Saying giving tips and stuff about self care. And I remember one of the things that she said was, she said, no matter what if it's cold outside or not, saying go outside, get some, fresh air. My sinuses are draining. Get some fresh air, get that vitamin D, even though it may be cold outside, but the sun is still out. So, go outside, maybe you should take a break and go on the porch or go in the backyard or whatever, things like that. Sometimes I'll go in the back and go in the backyard with the dog, and I'll just stand out there and just do some deep breathing while I'm out there, and just get that fresh air, and then I'll come back in for a while. So, self care is simply, it's really important to prioritize it and to find out what's going on with you. It's about paying attention to what's going on with you. And one of the things I read when I was studying on self care, and it said something about paying attention to your internal alarm. About what is your body craving, what is your body and your soul craving at that time, and what's going on with you in that present moment for you to realize that okay, I need to take some time for myself right now, or I need to start practicing self care. So like in the morning when I would get up, I usually would get up, come downstairs, things like that, make my coffee or whatever, stuff like that. Now I get up, I do my prayer. When I do my meditation, I come downstairs because normally I will come downstairs and almost be ready to start working. You know what I'm saying? So now I make sure I come downstairs a little earlier. Saying I start playing my music, and it's just a reminder, even from when we had our last conversation about gratitude and growth, and what Tiffany was talking about, just about just thanking God in everything that you're doing and in everything that we are able to do, because there are a lot of things that we take for granted. So when I come downstairs, I turn my music on, I have it blasting while I'm preparing for work, and then instead of making coffee, I make tea, you know, and those type of things. I get my water and I start doing those little things that make an impact on you taking taking some time for self-care, because self-care doesn't necessarily always mean that, okay, you got to go get a massage, or you got to go get your nails done or your feet done, or saying get your hair done, those type of things. It's the little small things that you could do to do some self-care, like in the morning. What's your self-care ritual? I saw someone on Facebook this morning talking about what their self-care ritual is in the morning. Like, what do they do, how they prepare their water, and the things that they do to prepare themselves for their morning workout, things like that. And so, just like you, Marlon, I like to work out in the morning, what I'm saying, because that gives once I if I work out in the morning, I have more energy um throughout the day if I work out in the morning versus if I decide to
Mhm.
work out in the evening. So I like to work out in the morning, saying get that
Mhm.
energy done. So after I've done my meditation, saying then I move a little and things like that, and then I'm ready for work, you know. So
Mhm.
um doing little things, taking little small breaks in your day and focus on your self-care. Think about something that you can do for yourself when you take a break. You don't have to wait until the weekend to take care of yourself. You can do it every day.
Very true.
You know, you can do it every day. Hey, Elvon. Hey, Crystal. Thanks for watching. Yes, so you can do you. We don't have to wait till the weekend. You don't have to wait till your weekend to do self care. You don't have to wait till your birthday and say, okay, well, I'm going to treat myself to a massage. Those type of things. You can do small little things every day to take better care of yourself. All it takes is 5 minutes. Say, and then that 5 minutes end up being 10, and then that 10 end up being 15, and then you go on and go on, and then self care becomes a natural regimen. And it's so hard for a lot of people, believe it or not, to practice self care because when I was doing the workshop, someone mentioned about the difficulties in practicing self care because for them it's mental, what I'm saying, and for you to get out of the mindset that you have to take some time to take care of yourself.
Mhm.
So they were saying to themselves that it was a struggle. It's a struggle for a lot of people to practice self care. It really is because one, when we said you, we are taught to put everybody else before us, and so um, practicing self care can be difficult for a lot of people because it's a mental thing for them, and they're just like, oh well, I've been going good this long, saying, well, I don't need that, or I don't need to practice this, I don't need to practice this, I'm good, but when you're really not, you're in
Exactly.
denial.
Exactly.
And if you're in denial, that means you're not paying attention to your mind, body, and your spirit. You're not paying attention to your emotions. You're not paying attention to how you're feeling about different things. Saying you're just suppressing it. And if you're suppressing it, then you're definitely not practicing self care at all.
And self care looks different. It looks
Hmm.
different on the given day because what
Hmm.
may feel like care today may not feel like care tomorrow. You may
Yep.
be exercising today, and today is a day when you need to do yoga. And then tomorrow may be a day where you need some more intensity. Self care can also look like on a Saturday, you're not, especially if you're working all week, you're not waking up early in the morning. You're just
Hmm.
laying there. Sometimes self-care is just laying down.
Hmm.
Sometimes self-care is not answering the phone, not having it on ring.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be an action in terms of something overt that you have to get up and do.
Hmm.
Sometimes self-care can just be silence, like listening to your own body.
Yep.
Um, So, like I said, it looks different
Mm-hmm.
for anyone on any given day because there's no prescription as to be like, well, this is what you're going to need every day. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're evolving as human beings, and so that's going to change. Our palate changes. What makes us happy changes as well. So being cognizant of the changes that are taking place in your life at the stage that you're in, your self-care can completely look so different from one year to the next, from one month to the next.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That is true. I am. I'm getting ready to order me a yoga mat, the yoga blocks. I got my little yoga cushion thing, the little thing that you can sit on and things like that. Because I really do want to learn the practice of yoga. You know what I'm saying? And I want to do that. And so I was looking on Amazon today. I know y'all praying for me because Tamika say I'm addicted to Amazon, but don't matter. I'm still gonna shop on Amazon. But yeah, so I got my purple mat in my cart and my little what you call it, the little yoga blocks in my cart, all that kind of stuff, so I can get my yoga stuff and start, trying to practice doing some yoga. I was looking for a beginner's yoga retreat. I don't know if I would want to do that yet. But
Well, if since you're starting at home, one of the best yoga people on YouTube, it's free. It's Yoga with Adrian.
okay,
She
yoga
is
with Adrian.
she
Okay.
is the absolute best. She has yoga for everything, for high blood pressure, for diabetes, for your hips, for if you're feeling like just no energy. She has yoga for every single thing. And she started off like for 2021, she started off like each day of yoga. So day 1, day 2, day 3. And it's out of her home, and it's not extreme. It's
Okay.
really the way she practices yoga is really loving and fun and simple. So it's not anything that's going to make you feel like, okay, I cannot do this,
Hmm.
So that's Yoga with Adrian is a
Yoga
really
with
good
Adrian.
place to
Okay.
start.
Oh, good. That's yep. That's what I'm gonna do. Um, yeah. So I'm excited. So I get my yoga stuff. Tamika's like she gonna get her new yoga mat and that kind of stuff. Yesterday we worked. The other day we worked out together, and stuff like that. And so just trying to do some little things that we could do at home, that we can start practicing a little bit more. And I really, really, really want to do. I want to do yoga and do that deep breathing. And before we wrap up tonight, Marlon, I want you to take everybody through a process of deep breathing before we log off, so that those that are watching can see it, as well as those that are going to watch it later on the afterplay and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, so I really want to do. Um, I really want to do get into yoga. I've been wanting to do it for years. So I was just like, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna get my mat and everything, and just be ready to do some yoga, to learn some yoga, to learn to do some different things. What I'm saying, and it's sad because of our culture. Sometimes of our culture. What I'm saying, and I guess that's what one of the ladies was meaning when she said that self care is mental. What I'm saying, because in our culture we're not taught to take care of ourselves. What I'm saying? We're not taught to do self-care. What I'm saying? If you taking time for yourself to do stuff, to get massages or whatever, people want to say that you trying to do too much, or you try. No, I'm trying to, I'm putting myself first. What I'm saying? I'm trying to take care of my innermost being. What I'm saying? I'm trying to take care and enrich my spirit and my soul, and what I'm saying, and to be healthier. What I'm saying? To be healthy is not just physical for physical health. You have to be healthy spiritually. You have to be healthy, healthy emotionally as well as mentally. What I'm saying? all those components come together. So just a few couple things. Mental self-care looks like, how do you nourish and expand your mind? Think about that. Think about how often do you take time to learn something new. That could be a part of mental self-care. um, what thoughts do you think about on a daily basis? Are you thinking negative stuff, or saying, do you are you practicing positivity and thinking positively and doing those affirmations? Physical self-care. How do you move? How often are you moving? And then how often do you rest? Okay. Emotional self-care. What types of healthy outlets do you have? When
Hmm.
it comes to emotional self-care, how do you cope with difficulty or painful emotions? How often do things how often do you do things that make you happy?
Hmm.
you know and how often do you resist or avoid your emotions? Okay. And then another thing that we could probably add to that emotional self-care is how often do you set boundaries. It's like what Marlon was talking about earlier, saying, when you have those toxic relationships or just toxicity around you, how do you release yourself from that, and how do you release those toxins from you? Spiritual self-care. How often do you pray? How
Yeah.
often do you take time to meditate? And then how often do you take time to study your Bible? You know, those are some components of spiritual self care. So those are some nuggets that I gave you guys. You can go back and listen to it again um, on the replay, and ask yourself those questions. How often are you getting that rest? Saying, are you setting boundaries, and are you saying no? Saying, I've learned to say no. And when people say, well, can you help me out? I will literally tell them, I can help you within my capacity to do so. You know, and when you say things like that, that kind of frees you up from taking on all of that, what they're expecting you to do for them. You know what I'm saying? If it's not in your capacity to do it or to help them at that time, then you know, tell them that. What I'm saying, and don't feel guilty about telling them that. Because when you find yourself always saying yes all the time, then you get that stresses you out, always saying yes to people, you know, and always trying to be there for them, always trying to make them happy. And as soon as they seem like they get a little tippy or get a little attitude or slightly upset, then you want to run in and rescue them from how they feeling because you can't do for them what they want you to do for them. No.
They have a saying that says if you tie up too many loose ends, then you become one.
Yeah. Ah, yeah. Ah, that's a good one.
We
Hmm.
can't I've seen so many times where we think that we're God or we're trying to be someone's savior,
Hmm.
and you keep on running to save the person, save a person, save a person, but then you're literally taking the place of God or a higher power
Yep.
out of their lives. And sometimes people have to face their own lessons. When
Yep.
you remove yourself from the situation and you take care of yourself and you prioritize yourself and you do those things, because it's really not that comfortable when you're not saving the world, because then you have to save yourself.
Hmm.
And that's really the bigger beast, is
Hmm.
self, right?
Yep. Yep.
So it's always so easy to run out here and be like, oh, I'm helping this person with that, and I'm helping this person with that, and I'm helping. But how is that going for you? Like, what are the things that you need some help with, that you need to focus on? Um, so sometimes it's just best to allow people to have their path and
Hmm.
to have yours. And it does not mean that you're not a friend. That's not what it means. It just means that you have a clear understanding of what your stuff is
Hmm.
versus what other people's stuff is. And as
Exactly.
we become older, we literally have to be responsible for our stuff. That's
Hmm.
what it means to be an adult. You're responsible for your own stuff, and others are responsible for theirs. When they start to overlap, then that's an issue. And we have those issues that arrive because you have a lot of people who go to work and they're gung ho and, their boss loves them and they perform well. And literally, the other aspects of their life is falling apart.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because once again, like when we were on the call last time with your friend, we were talking about presenting, right? Presenting. So you present this face. You get up in the morning, you get dressed, you take your shower, you get dressed, you put your makeup on, and you go to work and you give them the best that you have all day. You're just showing up and saving lives, saving everyone. And then you come home to your family and you can't even save yourself. Like you can't even cook your kids a proper meal. Like you don't even have the energy to help them to navigate emotionally, spiritually, or vibrationally what happened to them that day. And so, being cognizant of what's your stuff to take on and what is other people's stuff to take on is so, so important. And also watch out for being the nice person, right? Because the nice person always gets a whole bunch of responsibilities on them that other people don't want to do. Oh, you're so nice, you're so sweet, you're always so helpful, I can always come to you. Watch out for always having to be that nice person, feeding into those insecurities from childhood of always wanting to be liked, of being that person. No.
Nope. Because it will stress you out. It will
It's
stress
okay
you
not
out.
to like me. That's okay too.
And it will stress you out to the point. And when we were talking about self-care being mental and why it's so hard for some people to practice it, that's because it's just like what Marlon was just saying, saying because when you go out and you present yourself as this put together, all together, everything, and you give the whole entire world your best, saying you give your church your best, you give your job your best, saying you give everybody around you your best, that you have very little to give yourself. Be your own priority. Love yourself enough to say no when you need to say no, and say yes to yourself when you need to say yes to yourself. Saying love yourself a little bit more than you love everybody else. Just a little bit more. You know, you love everybody, but love yourself just a tad bit more than you love everybody else. Because
Mhm.
if you do that, and see, then when you start doing that, then you start teaching other people that it's important or it's okay for them to do that also. And so then they start doing that, and then it continues to trickle down and trickle down and trickle down. You cannot be you cannot be Superman, Superwoman, Shira, He-Man, all those people to everybody else and not be anything to yourself.
No.
You cheat yourself when you're everything to everybody else. Yeah. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. And people are always going to let you do what you allow them to do. If you continually allow them to put you on the back burner, allow them to make arrangements for you to do whatever, to do those things, then you're always going to feel like you're always going to have that hurried heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? You're never ever going to feel like you have a sense of rest. You know what I'm saying? You're never going to feel like you have a sense of being because you're not taking the time to take care of yourself. So when you're trying to do everything for everybody else, is what I said earlier already, then you're not paying attention to what's going on in the inside of you. You're not paying attention to your heart. You're not paying attention to your spirit. You're not paying attention to the aches and pains that your body is saying, I need you to slow down. I don't need you to go take such and such. Look, if you say no, when somebody asks you if you would come bring them something, they will find somebody else to do it. And if they can't find somebody else, they will figure out a way to get it themselves. We have become people's scapegoats too much that they rely on us, But if you teach them to start relying on themselves, and making their own happiness. See, people will tend to make you the response, their responsibility. They will make, well, how am I going to say this? People will tend to put the
The responsibility on you.
yeah, the responsibility on you for their happiness. It's not your responsibility to make them happy. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when you're trying to change somebody, and we talked about like, spiritually, it is not our job to change anybody. It is our
Mhm.
job to pray. It's God that does the work. We
Mhm.
do the praying, and then He does the work. That's why He said the battle is not yours, it's mine. You know what I'm saying? He will fight the battles. He will get those people straight. He will help them, but you have to let Him do it. You know what I'm saying? You have to get out of the way and stop trying to play God and let God be God and let God do what He needs to do. Your job is to pray. God will give you wisdom. He will give you knowledge. He will give you the tools to help someone that He needs you to help. But He can also do it on His own. So it's not our job to do that. So don't stop wearing yourself out trying to do everything and be everything for everybody. No. Take care of yourself. Be your own priority and love yourself a little bit more than you love everybody else.
Absolutely.
You know, your energy is your own medicine, is what we say all the time.
And it is.
Hmm. It really is. You ready for some deep breathing?
So I'm not going to breathe on camera, but I am going to I am going to tell you guys like how I do my deep breathing for my meditation in the mornings. Like there are different crystals that are good for the different chakras in the body. So like let's say like your crown chakra, your third eye chakra, and your throat chakra. Purple crystals like the amethyst crystal is really good
Like
for
this.
those chakras. Also blue crystals like blue agate, blue calcite, lapis lazuli. Those crystals are really good. So what I'll do is hold them and just breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth, over and over again. Not so the breath looks like inhale, exhale. And as I'm inhaling and exhaling with meditation, it's just to send energy and focus to that part of the body. Because sometimes we have, many times, all the time, we have things, energies vibrating all throughout our bodies, and they'll get trapped in different areas. And if we're not breathing and connecting with them, then we really don't know how these different entities or energies are affecting us. And so I'll start with the crown chakra, maybe for 5 minutes. Sometimes my meditation could go into an hour and a half, 2 hours. Sometimes it's just, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes for the throat chakra. Then I'll go down to my heart chakra. The heart chakra stones for the heart chakra are usually like pink and green. So, of course, the pink quartz or like green adventurine is good for the heart chakra. Um, then Naya is bringing out all her little crystals.
Yeah, I have mine all in front of me.
So crystals like these shades are really good for the heart.
This is jade.
Yeah.
This
Got
one is
mine.
prehnite. I forgot what this one is. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Okay. And so once again, as I'm breathing, I'm sending energy to those parts of the body. Underneath the heart chakra is our solar plex, and this part deals with every different part of the body that I've broken down, deals with different emotions. So like if you have self-esteem issues, how you see yourself, that comes in from the solar plex. Then as you go down to like your groin area, that's your sacral chakra. And then your root chakra is basically from the hip down to the bottom of your feet. And so I'll start off, you can either start off at the root and go up to the top, or start off at the top and go down to the root. But I do a lot of breathing and focus on every part of the body while holding the crystals that are associated with, you know, moving energies and tapping into the energies in those parts of the bodies. When I first started meditating and getting really into meditation, I had a lot of stuff going on in my throat chakra. A lot of things not said, holding on to things, not expressing myself fully. And so there were times in meditation where it would probably be maybe 20, 30 minutes of just tears flowing once I got to certain parts of my body, because healing needed to be done. And so, you know, from constantly going back to meditation and grabbing the crystals and focusing and breathing, you know, things start to manifest and things start to change in the body. Because I remember once I had an accident and I went to a physical therapist, and I was telling him that I, you know, was practicing Bikram yoga at that point, and I was afraid that because of the accident, I wasn't going to be able to practice anymore. And he looked at me and he said, you know, and that was the only time I ever saw that doctor. And I'll never forget what he said. He was like, you know, science proves that meditation and spiritual practices changes thousands of things in 1 second. He was like, don't stop with your yoga. He was like, we're able to take care of 1,000 things in just a few minutes of spiritual work, versus when you're dealing with the physical, you can only do one thing at a time. And so, you know, for me, meditation it's my silence. It's also my noise. It's hearing the noise that's going on and vibrating in my own body. And so, you know, and it's also very fun because then, like, my daughter is literally obsessed with her crystals. Okay. So every time we go to like the crystal shop, she goes and she'll pick up whatever crystal energy tells her to get. And when sometimes if my friends come over and they're having a hard time or they're dealing with certain things, she'll just get a crystal and give it to them to hold onto. And 9 out of 10 times, the crystal that she gives them will help them to deal with whatever they're dealing with. And so it's a really intricate, fun, and knowledgeable way to understand how we can heal ourselves. Mind, body, and spirit. So yeah.
I got my bowl of my crystals that I have right next to me and right next to my desk, and then I have some on my desk, you know. So I have mine and I use them from time after time. And so doing that, practicing deep breathing. And when you're practicing deep breathing, your shoulders should not go up when you take a deep breath. That's not how you take a deep breath. Your
Exactly.
diaphragm should, expands itself when you take a deep breath, and then when you exhale, then it flattens. So just remembering that, and maybe we'll do um, a Zoom session, Marlon, where we are, doing the doing deep breathing and, meditation and things like that. We can, help people do that. They can sign up to do, that workshop with us, so we can do that for you guys. We won't do it on Healing Conversations, but we'll do it, on Zoom, where it's more, controlled or whatever and things like that. People can actually learn some meditation rituals, some self-care rituals, as well as some deep breathing. Deep breathing and meditation um, helps to restore your nervous system, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It just takes
also deep breathing helps you to we hold every experience that we've ever had, if we haven't figured out how to let go and release them, we hold them in different parts of our bodies.
Mm.
And so deep breathing helps us to get in touch with the pain and the trauma that's trapped in all over our bodies. Anaya wants to share something with you guys.
Okay.
1 minute. Let me just let her take the seat. Go ahead.
I want to show you 2 crystals that are really good.
Okay, which
This
one?
one, I didn't hear what you said.
I said, which one are those?
This one, I have paint on my hands. I was painting. Don't mind that. This
Okay.
one is Blue Storm Agate,
Okay.
and this one is Blue Onyx.
Okay.
You can Google the benefits, but my phone isn't working properly, so.
Okay.
How many crystals do you have?
Well, I have a whole bowl right here. As you can see, a whole bowl of them. I won't name them because I don't know all the names of them. And then I have some on my desk that I have, and then I have stones in my room that say like bless, they say prayer, they say joy, they say yeah. So I have a whole bowl of them, as you can see. Yes.
Do you have a favorite? I know.
I think the solidite one is one of my favorites because it helps with focus. You know what I'm saying? It helps with creativity and those things. So I used to wear it around, I used to wear this one around my neck, but then after the chain pop, I just use it as a stone and I just keep it in my bowl. Yeah.
I have like 2 favorites.
Okay.
Well, I have like 3, but I'll just share 2. This
Okay.
one is one of my favorites, the Blue Onyx, because it's good for like connecting with spirits and like knowing if they're there and astro traveling.
Hmm. Okay.
And then I have a selenite wand, which is good for clearing crystals and clearing energy in a space.
Awesome. Yeah. Get that negative energy from around you, definitely.
And
Yeah.
Mom said it's also good for pain.
Mm.
Fun fact.
Oh, cool. Good. That's great. That
Yeah.
is great. So yeah, so we thank you guys for watching us tonight. We hope that you got some good tips, some good parts of this conversation on self-care. We want to remind you just to put yourself first, to make yourself your own priority. Love yourself a little bit more than you love everybody else. Take the time to just a little bit, take some time to take care of yourself. Remember that your energy is your own medicine. I also want to remind you guys about the virtual health ministry. We are here to help you whatever you need. It does not matter where you live. We can be reached at 202-765-1435 if you are in need of any type of help or resources or services. We are here to help you all. We are here to help. And we are we're here to help you guys. We want you guys to stay safe. Make sure you're taking your vitamins, make sure you're taking care of yourself, keeping your immune system boosted, washing your hands, keeping those masks on. You know what I'm saying? We want you to stay healthy and we want you to be healthy. Join us this Saturday for our virtual health ministry to vaccine or not to vaccine webinar. Marlon Brown will be on there as one of our panelists. Will be there, and so join us at 10 o'clock on Saturday. Join us at 10 o'clock on Saturday. We'll be happy to see you. Bye, Anaya.
She didn't want me to come back in my chair. I tried to come back. She did one of these. She was like,
I saw her. It's like no, So we will continue our conversation on self care. We're going to talk some more next week We're hoping, I'm hoping that we'll have some people on that can, join in a conversation with us so that we can talk about some different health, self-care rituals that people are doing in their own space and those type of things to help you out a little bit if you're struggling with, practicing self-care in your own home. So next week we'll have some tips, or have some guests that will share some of their tools and tips and wisdom and knowledge on taking care of yourself. Anything left, Marlon?
No, thank you guys, and everyone enjoy your evening. And it was good
Yes.
talking with everyone.
Yes. And always remember that your energy is your own medicine.
Medicine.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Let's see.